Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank on behalf of the Danish Embassy for being here. We dedicated a lot of time to advocate offshore wind technologies over the last 3 years through knowledge exchange platforms. So it's good to be here with the same purpose and invited by the Port Authority that I thank. What we tried to do yesterday is to work around the idea of cooperation and partnerships and why international cooperation is so important to make offshore wind projects happen. And around the table we had different stakeholders coming from both the development of big projects through partnerships. We had Wind Europe giving a bit of the idea of how to develop the market and the EU supply chain. We had also logistics and infrastructure companies, and also the view of Innovation Norway that is here today, and the French Embassy. So how other foreign investors are looking at the Italian market. And I mean, when we talk about cooperation, we thought that the key message is that cooperation and partnerships can be seen at different levels. So the development is very important. The idea is that the offshore wind, as it was said, is a technology with a high level of complexity, and that it relates to the infrastructure, to the supply chain, and also to the technological side of it. We have high capitals needed, so we are talking, when we talk about renewables, offshore wind is another game, in my opinion, and that should be kept in mind. We need cutting-edge technologies, and some technologies are still under development, and in Italy, as in other southern European countries or emerging markets, the not so clear regulatory and market framework obviously create even a more challenging scenario. So given these premises, the cooperation and the partnerships should be seen at different levels, meaning development, different profiles, try to make use of competencies in the offshore activities, or in the development activities, or in other cases we have developers combining with technology providers. So on one hand the development competencies, and the other one the technology competencies. But that is only one part of combination of competencies. The second level is the international competence partnership. So something that was highlighted yesterday is it's not a private issue, but is also a public government issue. So if we want to have this market in the future, we will need obviously a workforce that is competent enough, and enough workforce to then deliver on these projects, and then servicing the projects of the future. So international competence exchanges, a bit as Innovation Norway does, and as the Danish Embassy and other embassies do, but in a wider spectrum, is very important, and that relates to universities, R&D agencies, and other, I would say, strategic programs. They are very important. If I relate to the Danish experience, also the University of, for example, Danish, the DTU Wind Energy University is a front runner and is a leader on these competencies. So there are a strict relation between competencies of academia and courses, programs, and how mature the industry is. Probably the third one is when we look at the cooperation, we should look also at the cooperation at local level. So something that came up yesterday from also the logistics and infrastructure and ports is very good to have a common ground for multiple small and medium enterprises, or even large plus small and medium enterprises companies, to combine and then a bit fill the gaps together and develop, but starting from a good a good mixture of competencies. At all three levels, this means a bit de-risking as well. So it's good to have a group of companies and entities going towards this objective. And at the same time, one last element on the cooperation discussion was it's good also to think about some supply chain, local supply chain, that can serve full package services. So the idea is instead of having scattered services, they are not really well oriented to the needs of developers and other big industry operators. It's good to look, and Isla is looking at me, Isla representative, so I think that is part of their role as well in Sicily. Then the second main area we looked into yesterday was the supply chain. There's a lot going on about EU or non-EU technology. So on one side we have developers looking for solutions for their projects and betting on this technology today for a project that will be built up in 5, 7, 10 years. We don't know, probably less, hopefully, if we stick to the deadlines defined by the FAIR 2 decree coming. But the idea is on, and then we will dive into it with Wind Europe, Mattia. Thank you for being here. And so that is still a question mark, and we will try to address that as well. So what is a common message is simplification, reduction of the bureaucracy is key to have EU funds and other funds at the European level more accessible and more actionable, let's put it this way. Third message coming from yesterday is we have a lot of financial institutions and banks that are really interested and that showed appetite to this emerging market, but it's key to have again a good, clear framework in terms of, I would say, political commitment, so long-term political commitment, and a clear regulatory and market conditions. On this basis, all the financial institutions and similar profiles interested in this market and helping out with financial tools to make this project bankable and the risk a bit for developers, their commitment is key to achieve this scenario, but having the right market conditions and more, I would say that these profiles need more trust and more vision from also from the politics. And having said that, we try to, we can try today to dive a bit more into these messages. And I would like to start from Wind Europe, so just to have a more general, and thank you, Mattia, again, to be here. And I would start with the difficult questions. I mean, probably two questions to start with. The first one is how do you see the cooperation at EU level? What are the tools or the incentive schemes or other tools that you suggest to have a more cooperation-based approach to the development of offshore wind market, and also what is your general view on the projects going on in Italy when it relates to manufacturing or logistics, infrastructure development? So how does Europe? How is Europe going on this side?
Thank you, Enrico. Good morning, everybody. Well, thanks to the organizer for the invitation, of course, and congrats for the event. Yeah, well, tough questions to start, quite broad, so also please feel free to stop me and chip in, otherwise I could talk for hours. But cooperation is key when we talk about offshore wind sector. cooperation at any level. Let's also make clear that it's not just an industry duty deploying offshore wind farms. Everybody is on board, the governments, the transmission system operators, and the industry. So cooperation must start from there. This is, if we want offshore wind to work, everybody must be agreeing, everybody must be cooperating. Cooperation is key. Actually, yesterday, maybe just briefly mentioning, I was in Denmark for the North Sea Energy Cooperation ministerial meeting. This is an international forum focusing on the North Sea, where the 9 countries facing the North Sea, they recurrently meet. They meet among themselves, among the governments, but they also often engage with industry, with TSOs, and all the other players. Now, this is absolutely fundamental. There's no one without the other, and it's very important that one inform the other and vice versa. It's very important that the governments inform the industry to give them visibility of what is going to happen, where, and under which conditions. This is a very important tool for industry to de-risk projects. And the industry, of course, in exchange must tell governments what they need, what are the challenges that they are facing at project level, and what governments can do. So cooperation must really start from there. Now, once we narrow down in our industry, of course, cooperation is as important. Also here, the offshore wind supply chain, it's huge. It really comes from the onshore supply chain, where the components are manufactured, arriving at port, and going out at sea, where the projects are installed. So many different players, many years that passes between the planning phase and the deployment phase. So it's very important that the industry talks very well among themselves and coordinates. And this is not always the case, even in developed countries, you know, like we work a lot with the ports. At Wind Europe, we have an offshore wind ports platforms, and they were telling us we need visibility, not only towards the governments, which is what Wind Europe does, but also with the industry. We need to talk more with them. We need to know more the insights of the sector. How are the project financed? How healthy are certain projects? When are they coming to our facilities? With how many turbines? What do we need to do? How we can coordinate? So this is a challenging task because, again, it's really a lot of players with different interests and different priorities. But the common goal is just to have that project deployed in the fastest, quickest, and most cost-effective possible way. So this is absolutely fundamental for the well-functioning of the offshore wind sector. Now, maybe I stop here for a second. You also asked me feedback on the Italian market. Maybe we can go there in a moment.
Yeah, but it's, I can, thank you. And yes, I can ask in a bit the representative of Innovation Norway to just give a bit of your experience. So in Norwegian size, what are the main challenges for cooperation, partnerships, and the development of this market in Italy? I mean, and how are there any differentiating elements compared to other Southern European countries? So Italy, does Italy have some specific strategic or some strongholds that makes it even a more attractive market? That's probably the first question I would like to. Thank you.
Thank you, Enrico. And thanks for the organizer for inviting me and Innovation Norway to this conference. Just a few words on Innovation Norway. It's Norway's trade promotion organization. So it's like Business France in France. So we help export of Norwegian goods and services, and we are also a national development bank. So a few words on Italy and Norway. I will start with similarities because both countries are mostly floating wind markets due to environmental conditions, to the water depth, which is not the case of most of the countries, which are dominated by bottom-fixed offshore wind, which is more standardized, which is cheaper. So there are common challenges that we have in Norway and Italy to develop a new technology in a market that is not still mature, which is floating wind. What we have in common also is the history, solid history in offshore oil and gas, right? You have a major player like Eni, we have Equinor in Norway, you have Saipem here, we have Aker Solutions and Aibel, for example, in Norway. And we can build upon this history to actually contribute to the development of floating wind in both countries. So that's very important. What is different maybe is the supply chain. There are missing gaps in Italy that actually Norway can complement. I can name, for example, the segments of marine operations, offshore installations, vessels, mooring lines, installation of anchoring with anchor handling tugs, specialized vessels, SOVs for operation and maintenance. So all that can be really like a good business, a good complementary cooperation between both countries. And I agree with Mattia, is the case in all countries, we need clarity and predictability. So clarity in terms of framework, regulations, local content, bid criteria. This is very important, of course, for Norwegian players to enter a market. And predictability, meaning we need a secure pipeline of projects, meaning a regular rollout of tenders and auctions so that we have visibility in a long-term perspective so that investment can be done. So, yeah, that was...
Thank you. And I think that what you're saying about predictability, I think is also core for Wind Europe, and the idea of having a pipeline of projects that is also consistent with the capabilities of European technology and service providers. I mean, how do you see this kind of also discussion? I mean, how can we, a bit at European level, having a more balanced markets where there's more exchange of information among the different EU countries? Is there any strategic program from your side or any specific activity that can help a bit clear the situation? Is a lot of there's a lot of auctions coming, and at the same time we see some O&Ms, manufacturers and other technology providers a bit not that ready to deliver on that demand. So I don't know if you have a specific answer to that. And then I will try to widen up a bit on the EU projects that are mainly related to manufacturing, if I'm not mistaken, and how Europe is going on that as well.
Yeah, indeed. Well, we were discussing about predictability, and I mean, Europe has one supply chain. I mean, that is very important. Every country has their own kind of way of tendering out projects, which might be more or less risky. But what we need to keep in mind is that the supply chain is one. And this is also why international cooperation is even more important. Now, we talked about risk, we talked about predictability. There are different levels of that. And once the industry gets from government side certainty, they go. They have money, there is private money to put in the market, and things happen. Now, I don't know if it's possible, but we prepared a slide, and indeed, it's what you were mentioning before. There is a kind of a certainty scale, you know, a government has different ways to provide certainty. We start from, let's call them ambitions, to targets, to planned tenders, to awarded tenders. And of course, this gives different certainty levels to the supply chain for invest to upscale their manufacturing capacity. Now, what you can see here are all the investment that has been taken in the last 1 year and a half since late 2022. All this together accounts for more than 10 billions. So billions is quite a lot of money. And why this investment came? Because projects were awarded. It doesn't matter where exactly in Europe, but many countries have finally started putting volumes in the market. And this is really the most important step that gives confidence to the supply chain to expand their facilities. Thanks to all this, in 2 years, we went from a production capacity of wind turbines and related components in Europe of 5 to 6 gigawatt per year to this 9.5 gigawatt per year. And that was thanks for the 40 gigawatt that were offered in the market in the last 2 years, which is more than what we have installed today. So this is very important because that's the level of certainty that the supply chain needs to have the confidence to secure contracts, expand the facility, and put money on the field. So this is great news, actually, and what we tell governments is that we need much more of that. Ambitions, planned tenders, they don't move investments. You need to have the volumes in the market, you need to start having the developers entering into contractual negotiations with supply chain players to unlock all this. So this was absolutely the key point, I think. Then you mentioned innovation, you mentioned projects. Well, here you can see the breakdown of the various investments where it comes. Quite a lot in Italy as well, especially for cables and the Vestas factory, accounting, yeah, as I mentioned before, 10.7 billion just in a couple of years. Again, I think it's quite impressive. Thanks for showing the slides. So yeah, it was really on the supply chain part. You mentioned innovation, and actually yesterday, again, was another very good day to remember because the Innovation Fund, actually, at European level, announced that they awarded 6 projects, giving money to manufacturing facilities, to 6 manufacturing facilities in Europe, all investments between 30 and 60 millions. For nacelles, for blades, for towers, for other gearboxes. So there is money also from the European side. Of course, also the European institutions, they need a certain level of certainty to kind of provide the public side of the funding to this facility. So there is money also there, but as well it needs certainty. There is one last pot of money that is very important, which comes from the European Investment Bank, the EIB. With the wind power package, they were tasked to help the risk projects. So basically, the European Investment Bank now is putting on the table, I think, something like 5 billion in counter guarantees, which in very simple terms means that when a private investor or a private company goes to a private bank asking for a loan, the EIB will get there and say, I kind of insure for this company, and get them the money, basically. So this has already unlocked other part of these 10 billions here and many more that are coming. So these 3 together, the purely private money from the supply chain, the public funding from the Innovation Fund, this was just an example, but there is a lot of other things happening for RTD, for example, and this kind of midway of the EIB. All together, they are really unlocking a lot of money, and if governments give the certainty that the industry needs, all this will just keep going.
Thank you very much. I think that was very, very interesting, and today, I mean, it would have been very nice to have also the European Investment Bank here, just to give that overview, but it was good to have you here, just replacing that. I will try to ask the last question to Innovation Norway, just to also give some messages more to the Italian stakeholders from the private sector. This is an opportunity. How are you seeing I would say the attitude, but also the commitment of the industry, to the Italian industry towards this opportunity, and if there are any specific barrier to partnerships or cooperation right now, seen from your perspective, so from the Norwegian perspective, and that can change from one country to another, so it's up to you, obviously.
Thanks. I can actually start with some success stories from Italian players, because even though the Italian offshore wind market has not taken off yet, there are already success stories. You might know Prysmian, the cable manufacturer and installer. They are one of the leaders in the world for cable manufacturing and installation, and they have quite a numerous number of projects where they participated, and it was quite a success. So, and Saipem also, is a major player in EPCI foundations and also substations, and they have installed substations in the UK, Germany, and other countries. And also Fincantieri, who owns like 100% of Vard. Vard is a Norwegian player who is a vessel designer, vessel operator, and also that have yards in Norway and in other countries. So this is an example that Italian players have not waited for the Italian market to actually be successful. When it comes to Norwegian and Italian cooperation, I would say, we have already examples of our good friends from Scandinavia, the Swedish and Danish. So why not Norwegian? So Norway needs to be there now more present. CIP have partnered with ENI on 5 projects here. We have Hexicon, the Swedish Hexicon, also partnered with an Italian developer. So why not Equinor? And all the more that the Spanish and the Portuguese market has slowed down a bit, so it could be a chance actually for the Italian market to take off in partnership with Norwegian players.
Thank you, and I would like to thank you for this session, and also to thank the other partners helping me out yesterday during the working group. So Isla, Avanexicon, CDP Equity, the French Embassy, Confindustria Sicilia, Beware, and Innovation Norway that is here, obviously.
Enrico, can I add something?
Yes.
At 12:30, there will be a signature of an MOU between Aero, ANEV, and Innovation Norway with my good colleague Mauro here from the Milan office. So you're all welcome to join and see this MOU.
Thank you very much, and thank you again, Mattia.
Thank you.